Okay, folks. So I got a good one for you right now. It's going to be a little bit longer of a video, but here's the situation. We just had a former Google employee that got arrested because they did corporate espionage. But here's the thing. It ain't really corporate espionage. It's government espionage. It's the Chinese government taking out their competition by stealing secrets and whatnot. Now, you may go, well, how do you know that it was government mandated? Well, I'm going to play you a news thing. It's a little bit long of a news article, but it's or news video, but it's going to give you a breakdown of the arrest and a little bit of what they're talking about. Then after that, we're going to talk about the next videos, but I want you to listen to this first bit. Then I'm going to break it. Then I'm going to give you a little bit of talk about what's coming up in the next two videos that are going to come up after that. We're going to break down how the Chinese government is committing espionage against U.S. tech companies and the whole nine yards, and I'm going to be giving you proof of why I know it's the Chinese government. I don't say anything unless I got proof on here, and I'm giving you the proof. Now, if you like this kind of stuff, because I like doing investigative journalism, and I don't do it very often, I do little videos here and there, and it's news and things that most people don't talk about. But if you want investigative journalism, which is what I do when it's fun to me, stick around to my channel, subscribe, like this, tell me what you want me to investigate, because I always want ideas. I most of the time don't always think of the ideas, but we're going to do this. So stick around, here we go.
Howdy y'all, this is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself.
Well, the air race, the latest in the escalation of tensions between the U.S. and China. Now tension is rising after a former Google engineer has been indicted for stealing AI secrets to 8 Chinese companies. Yahoo Finance's Alexis Keenan and Dan Halley join us now. They have a cover from 2 angles for us. Alexis, let's start with you. Lay out the legal details for us on this federal indictment.
So these are federal charges by the Department of Justice against this 38-year-old former Google software engineer. His name is Lingwei Ding. He's 38 years old, as I said. He's a Chinese national as well. And these counts carry up to 40 years in federal prison. So these are steep charges. They come with deep consequences. And basically what the Justice Department is saying is that this software engineer who was based in California, that he was a part of the team for training AI large language models. So basically he was a software engineer who was telling the hardware at Google what to do, how to execute these very high-powered, sophisticated operations in order to power what we all now know are these large language models. Now, the DOJ says that his theft of this material started in May of 2022. So we're going back over a year and a half now. He was uploading, they say, 500 confidential files to his personal Google Drive and then trying to obscure it into an Apple Notes and kind of turning it back into some PDFs in order to not have it traced. Now, he then allegedly went to China and took a position as CTO of a software company there, largely doing the same type of, or trying to do the same type of training for these models as Google and other companies are in the race to do now. He also, on top of that, allegedly started his own startup company and then went and tried in China at tech conferences to solicit also investment in his own company. He was taking for that CTO job approximately $15,000 per month plus bonus plus stock options. And I just want to read part of the complaint. Supposedly, allegedly, Ding wrote in a WeChat group for this startup, quote, "We have experience with Google's 10,000 card computational power platform. We just need to replicate and upgrade it and then further develop a computational power platform suited to China's national conditions. So these are the allegations. We do not yet have a response from Ding. However, he has been arrested.
Oh, snap. All right. Holly, let's get you in on this. What are the implications from this for Google and AI safety?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is something that isn't new. There's been accusations of China stealing U.S. intellectual property from tech companies for years, and so it's not exactly a shock that something like this would happen. Intellectual theft happens regularly between all countries, but I think for Google in particular, it's just kind of another black eye when it comes to its AI ambitions, right? We had the recent Gemini issues with the image generations showing diverse Nazis, which is a weird thing to pull up. We also had issues originally with Gemini when it launched. They showed a video purporting to show the AI doing things that it actually wasn't doing, and so it does appear as this is another black eye. But as far as its future or its AI at all, it's probably just going to continue to do things the way it's been doing it. This is a rapidly evolving type of technology. I don't think this impacts their business as far as how they're going to grow their generative AI capabilities. I also don't think that this is going to be something that investors are going to be thinking about long term. But it does show that obviously the competition in this space is just red hot, and it's not just between Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, the big three, as well as Meta, which is also in there, but it's international. So there's plenty of firms out there that are trying to catch up with what these companies are doing. And it appears as though, to some degree, some will go allegedly as far as they need to.
Now, you heard all that. Next two videos that I'm going to play. First one's this young lady who is giving you an idea of how the Chinese government has control of these businesses. And the second one's a lot older. No joke. As of the recording of this video, and this is February 2025, this is 12-year-old video. They've been doing this for a long time. They've been setting everything up for a long time. So this feller's from the American Enterprise Institute, and he breaks down, this guy's expert on it, he breaks down what they're doing in China as well. So, we got these videos coming up. I want you thinking this entire time. I want you thinking about what the U.S. government can be doing, because guess what? We should be communicating with our U.S. representatives about how we need to stop this crap.
Been very interesting is to see the relationship between the U.S. and China. And right now, there's certainly a lot of focus on Washington in terms of the regulatory front, whether it's getting Chinese companies to open up their books. There was a decision about telecom equipment with Huawei and various peers, and of course TikTok and ByteDance, and this sense that to be a company based in China is to be a company that cannot be trusted in the U.S. Some have felt that's almost xenophobic. That's certainly what TikTok says. What do you feel in terms of what you know about the companies and the degree of censorship and the degree to which a lot of information is shared with the government? Are U.S. regulators right to be concerned in your mind about companies that are big players in China coming here to the U.S., knowing what you know?
Well, I'm sure, there are xenophobia in the U.S. There nationalism, and people don't, like China because it's China, right? And there are anti-Chinese, anti-Asia racism in the U.S. That's a fact. But it's also a fact that all Chinese companies, whether they are private or state-owned, they are beholden to the Chinese government. So if the Chinese government wants them to censor, if the Chinese government wants them to survey, they have to do it. They have no choices to not do it. So this is also a fact. So I think the concern about TikTok's data collection practices, TikTok's surveillance and censorship practices are completely legitimate.
All right, China Unicom, if you go back far enough, was in fact an open and genuinely private company for a couple years in the late 1990s, right up until the time that Beijing said, no, you're not. And then it wasn't, and now it isn't. And it will never be again unless Beijing says you're allowed to be. And foreign investors found that to their some discontent. The same thing applies to every large Chinese telecom firm. Chinese officials are now in another way of talking about private participation, actually including explicitly in telecom. When you talk to them about prominent examples of private companies in private, they don't mention anybody. I mean, there should be these examples they mention, but they don't, because government view of the industry may not be exactly the same as the view of the participants in the industry. You're looking to characterize firms, see some differentiation, receive large below market lines of credit. They all do. They get preferences in bidding. Yes. Preferences in land access. Yes. Government sanctioned IPR theft for the sake of driving out foreign competition. Yes. Right? All of these companies are treated the same way. Characterize them all the same way. Right? So that's the vicious part. These are whatever, I'm going to call them SOEs. It deserves a longer explanation than that. They're all SOEs. Telecom is a totally state-dominated sector. Explicitly from the Chinese government, in public, in private, whatever you want to say.
Now, you've heard all that. And I know there are a lot of folks that won't tell you, and mostly it's mainstream media, because these folks work for, you take a look at ABC. ABC is owned by Disney. If Disney pisses off China, they lose money. All these other big companies are beholden to China because they get parts brought in. This is why we need to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. This is also why, if we're going to have manufacturing, we have, if they want cheaper labor somewhere, they need to go to another country. We need to stop working with China, because this is what China is doing. If you listen to this, you've got these big companies here in the U.S. that are beholden to China. We need to end this, and we end this with our dollars. Start buying stuff from companies that do things here in America. No joke. Start doing it. I'm not going to name any companies, because simple fact is I ain't going to advertise for companies, because, hey, I don't know who you are. I don't know what your politics are. I hope to God that I've got folks that are not just conservatives. I want liberals. I want libertarians listening to me. And you may not agree with the companies that I talk about, and you might get mad at me over it, but that's not really the reason I'm not saying it. I'm just saying it because, well, you might look at me and go, well, I don't like that company, and I don't have an alternative to that company that I'm offering you. So I want you doing your own investigating. We have to start doing critical thinking, folks. I'm going to say it that way. We need to do our own critical thinking. We need to start thinking, because we're losing the battle right now, because people are letting themselves get brainwashed. Well, this has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.
Folks, I just want to say thank you for listening. I want to thank you for taking your time. I want to hear what your comments are about what you think on this topic, because your comments are what's important, not necessarily mine. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're liberal. I don't care if you're Democrat. I want to hear your opinion on these topics. I want to thank you yet again for listening to my video. Like, subscribe, and all that other hoopla. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.